Thank you, Mike, for your many contributions to the City Club, and thank you, Art, for that very fine introduction. As the City Club approaches its 100th anniversary, the legacy of the club, we all remember, has been dependent upon those who have been willing to serve both as a catalyst for our continued growth and as a tireless advocate for the values of free speech. And so at this point, I would like to invite past City Club President Dr. Najeri Nuru-Holm to the podium to introduce our next inductee, Bob Lustig, who has certainly been such a catalyst and advocate for the club over the years. Najeri?
Thank you, Dick. Anyone who has been to a City Club forum has probably seen Bob Lustig in action. During nearly every forum, he makes eye contact with the microphone holder, indicating that he has a question for the speaker. His questions are expertly articulated and positioned, never unfriendly, but framed to pierce a few layers below the surface. During City Club forums, Bob also plays an important role as one of the old reliables, a person who can be counted on to conjure up a question if the question well should run dry. Bob's active participation in City Club forums mirrors his active participation in other aspects of the City Club. Throughout his years of membership, he has held just about every office there is, including serving as the president of the club in 1986. When his term as president ended in 1987, he then served as president of the City Club Forum Foundation for 4 years. That isn't the only way Bob has worked to ensure that the City Club remains a vibrant influence in the city and beyond. He is solely responsible for the Zaitchik Forum, and he is co-donor of the Friedman Forum. According to Bob, the City Club is his first love. Born and raised in Cleveland Heights, I know, that's what it said. You all sort that out. Born and raised in Cleveland Heights, Bob is a graduate of both Case Western Reserve University's Adelbert College and its School of Law. He joined the Ohio National Guard following graduation from law school, and during his nearly 6 years in the Guard, he promises that he attended all of the required meetings. Professionally, Bob has been practicing law for 50 years, and he is determined to keep practicing until he gets it right. While his practice areas have included construction, business, litigation, divorce, and estate planning, he now primarily focuses on business, real estate, and estate planning. He also has served as an arbitrator for over 30 years in labor, securities, commercial, and construction matters. As Bob says, it's fun to sit back and watch other people work. But when it comes to Bob's passions, he does anything but sit back and watch others work. He is a life trustee of the Montefiore home, was a treasurer for years, and has served on the Budget, Finance, and Risk Management committees. He also serves on the board of the Wiles Assisted Living Facility in Bainbridge. Bob is a longtime member of the Cleveland Bar Association and is past chair of the Grievance Committee. He has served as an investigator and has also prosecuted 4 matters to trial, 2 of which resulted in a lawyer being disbarred. When I called Bob at his office to chat with him about his days at the City Club, I told him I already had a 2-page script, and he replied, "That's about right, because 1 page is approximately 2 minutes, and I made sure to keep my introductions to 1.5 pages when I introduced speakers during the year I was president of the club." I cannot exactly remember what pointer it was that Bob gave me about introducing speakers when I served as president, but that rule of thumb sounds mighty familiar. What Bob finds so remarkable now is the tremendous changes that have occurred in Cleveland, where organizations, businesses, and other establishments were founded on a certain set of facts, and how those facts have changed. In the 1950s, Cleveland was home to Fortune 500 companies behind only New York and Chicago. Bob said Cleveland had some strange people downtown, like doctors, lawyers, businessmen. By the 1970s, I was the last of the Mohicans among my friends. They laughed at me for driving 40 minutes downtown when others had moved their offices to the suburbs. He believes that the City Club has been a victim of its own success since people who have relocated to the suburbs have the option of picking up a free broadcast of the Friday Forum rather than to pay to come downtown. Bob clerked for his liberal-leaning father, Philip Lustig, who was active in the American Legion, was always considered a conservative, and loved to challenge the executive secretary of the club. He also reflected on the old City Club on Vincent, describing it as a cross between a sophomore dorm and a small club, with the lively Soviet table and Sanhedrin table and the card game after lunch, which was pinochle. Henry was a senior waiter and server. In the afternoon, Henry would be tipped handsomely to take care of these men, and it wasn't unusual for one of them to be found napping on the sofa. Bob, it is my pleasure to present you with a plaque and to induct you into the City Club Hall of Fame. Your commitment to the club and to the future of the club makes you an ideal candidate for the Hall of Fame. Bob, please join me at the podium as the audience recognizes you for your years of service and dedication to the club.
Oh, I gotta do this. And Jerry, thank you so very much. Very, very, very kind remarks. It's nice to hear them. I'm not going to stick to the 2.5-minute rule, but I'm also not going to give the 1-hour speech that I was thinking about. But let me take a few minutes and just think back, as Jerry has started us, on some of the real history of this club. And maybe I'm kind of reminded of the old Walter, I think it was the Walter Cronkite, who was the narrator of the program, And You Are There. And let me give you the backstory on a few instances that I remember from the City Club's history. You've heard from 2 previous speakers about the Soviet table. How in the world did this conservative-leaning organization ever get such a moniker? The answer, I was told way back when, was the group of liberal-leaning gentlemen who sat around this very large table. This table is about 8 feet across. A piece of it is still in the Pogue room, way over to my left. And in the middle of it, there's a hammer and sickle, and the names of the original members of that group are still there. Now, the Sanhedrin table, which was the other large conversation table, was the conservative table. Well, one of the members of what became the Soviet table was a florist. And back in the 20s, he made sure that every day there was a fresh bouquet of red roses on the table. Well, you can imagine the byplay between the liberals and the conservatives back and forth. And one day, one of the conservative members, in disgust, turning away, said, "Ah, you guys are nothing but a bunch of reds," referring, of course, to the red roses.